All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today is dealing with Yahweh Shai, the cornerstone. Understanding, how Yahweh Shai is that chief cornerstone. What does that mean? Okay, because we hear it, a lot throughout the scriptures. The Apostle Paul, the apostles, Apostle Peter, they reverence, Yahweh Shai to being their cornerstone, okay, in which they're quoting out of the Old Testament, okay, and what does that mean for us today? So you go to First Peter chapter 2, verse 4. I'm reading NLT and reading to the point. All right, it says, "You are coming to Hamashiach, who is the living cornerstone of the Most High's temple. He was rejected by people, but he was chosen by the Most High for great honor." Okay, and the people that he was rejected by were the leaders, okay, of Israel at the time. The leaders of Judea. During the time of Yahushua, well, you had this what you call the Sanhedrin, okay, which consists of mainly, the Sadducees and some Pharisees, okay. But they was the leaders of the people at that time, and they refused to build with Yahushua in the spirit. Okay, they rejected Yahushua. Okay, and they rejected his doctrine to build on their doctrine. Okay, because in the doctrine of Yahushua, Yahushua is the mediator, not the temple, not the physical temple, not the physical priest. Okay, and the temple is the believers, the body of believers, man. Okay, beginning with those first fruits. Okay, the 12,000 men from each tribe. Okay, so it went beyond, the the priesthood of Aaron. Okay, and a lot of the leadership was offended at that, and they rejected Yahushua. Okay, and it says, "And ye are living stones." You see that? Now it's speaking of, those men. All right, the first fruits. Okay, are the beginning of what? Those living stones, because you have the cornerstone, but then you have what? The first fruit that make up the rest of the building. Okay, it says, and you are living stones that the Most High is building into his spiritual temple. What's more, you are his holy priest. Okay, you see that? So the priesthood of Melchizedek, we're rehearsing that now. Okay, because why? It says, you are his holy priest. Through the meditation of Yahweh Hamashiach, you offer spiritual sacrifices that please the Most High. So we're able, all these different men, all these different Israelite brothers from these different tribes are able to offer spiritual sacrifices. Okay, which shows you that what we're rehearsing, okay, the priesthood after the order of Melchizedek, okay, and which is a spiritual priesthood, all right, that started before the foundation of the earth, okay, under Yahweh. You see? And Yahushua is what? The cornerstone of this building is going to go into. Okay, but we make up the rest of the building, okay? That holy priesthood. You see where the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua dwells. Okay, verse 6, it says, "As the scriptures say, I am placing a cornerstone in Jerusalem, chosen for great honor, and anyone who trusts in him will never be disgraced." Okay, so Yahushua is the cornerstone of the building. You see, he's the foundation. Okay, and anything that's not built on Yahushua is not of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. The Heavenly Father is not dealing with anything that's not built on Yahushua. Okay, that's why you see as men establish themselves and it's not on Yahushua, it always crumbles, man. It always falls. Anything not built on Yahawashi, it falls. Okay? So you go here. So just ask, what's the significance, okay, of what's the significance of a cornerstone? All right. It says a cornerstone carries both a practical and symbolic significance. Okay. It says practical architectural meaning. In ancient building practices, the cornerstone was the first stone laid at the corner of a foundation. It determined the position, alignment, and stability of the entire structure. Okay, it determined the building. It determined the position, the alignment, and the stability of the entire structure. Builders use it as a reference point to make sure the rest of the building was square, level, and strong. You see, it said if the cornerstones were set wrong, the whole building would be off, man. That's why you look at groups like Sakara. They're not set on that cornerstone of Yahawashi. The whole building off, man. IUIC, they're not set on the cornerstone of Yahawashi. The whole building is off, man. ISUPK, okay? I'm just naming the big three. You see? They're off, man. The Christian church. Their whole alignment is off because they're not set, all right, on Yahawashi. They're not building off their cornerstone. They're not aligning themselves with their cornerstone, which is Yahawashi. Okay? And it says symbolic meaning. It says strength and stability. The foundation, all right, everything depends on. The starting point that guides everything else. Many builded place, all right, it says honor and prominence. Okay, it says many buildings placed inscribed cornerstones to mark the beginning, all right, their beginning and purpose. Okay, so you see a cornerstone and have things inscribed into it, you know, because everything is started with that cornerstone being laid. Okay, and it says Isaiah 28:16, the Most High lays a tested stone, a precious cornerstone for a sure foundation. And this is what the apostle Peter is quoting out of Isaiah 28:16. Okay, Ephesians 2. Yahawashi is called the chief cornerstone, holding the spiritual building, the church together because everything is aligned on Yahawashi. Okay? Everything that we do, our behavior, our conduct, our teaching style, our faith, our discipline is all aligned with Yahawashi. Okay? And the more on point we are with Yahawashi, the more level we are, the more square we are in the spirit. Okay? Going down, it says in short, the cornerstone is the first, all right, the most important and guiding stone in both literal construction and in symbolic or spiritual teaching. Okay? So when you go here, let's go. He said, Yahawashi is a chief cornerstone. So you get this point here. It says, just like the cornerstone in ancient construction set the direction and gave stability, Yahawashi is the foundation and the alignment for the whole kingdom of the Most High. Okay? So the kingdom, you know, that Yahawashi is bringing, well, he's the cornerstone of that kingdom. He's the foundation. Everything aligns with him, and the cornerstone, okay, what bears the weight of a building. Okay, when you go to get some precepts. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 6. Okay, it says, for unto us, all right, a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. Okay, and then NLT says the government, all right, will rest on his shoulders, man, that cornerstone. All right, he's going to be the foundation of the rulership in the kingdom, man. Okay, everything in the kingdom is going to be aligned, okay, with Yahawashi. Okay, and we're going to be an extension, of Yahawashi. Okay? As we make up those lively stones in the rest of the building. You see? So it says, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And these are all titles. Okay? And one of them said, what? Wonderful Counselor, man. Okay? Because the earth is going to be ran through the counsel of Yahawashi. Okay? And we're going to be there to aid and help him carry out his counsel. Okay? Within the rulership of the kingdom, man. You see? But Yahawashi is that measuring, okay, is the measure of what every Israelite man should be. Okay, he's that guide. What they call it a guiding stone. He guides the rest of the building. Okay, the chief stone, the chief cornerstone, plays a part in everything else that's placed in the building. Okay, so if you try to build on another foundation, as it says in jump down. Yep, and it said just as the cornerstone bears weight, Yahawashi bore the full weight of sin on the cross. You see, faith in him sets believers in line with the Most High's will, just as cornerstone sets the alignment for a building, man. So Yahawashi, he bore the weight of sin. You know, he's going to bear the weight, you know, in the kingdom. You know, the rulership is going to rest on him. Okay, because he's the King of Kings, and that comes with the King of Kings responsibilities. You see, but he's built for it from the foundation of the earth. All right, and Lord will we of that number, we're built, all right, for the offers we have within that building, man. Okay, go 1 Corinthians 3:11. It says no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Yahawashi HaMashiach. So that's why you see these men that build and they make themselves the chief cornerstone. Okay, you see what happens to that building. Okay, it's in ruins. We're looking at Sakari. It's in ruins. Okay, because it was built not on the chief cornerstone Yahawashi. It was built on the chief priest. Okay, and that's just an example. All right, he's just an example. You know, the hell with that guy. Okay, and it says apostles and prophets are like supporting stones, but Yahawashi alone is the chief cornerstone. So let's go here because it's all about measuring up, you know, to Yahawashi. You see, that's why when you go here to Ephesians 4. All right, this is the book of Ephesians, chapter 4. All right, and we'll start at verse, start at verse 12. It said, for the perfecting, well, I started at 11. It says, and he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers. And this make up the body. Everybody has their gift, you know, to do what? All right, why did Yahawashi, the scripture say, send gift to men? And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Mashiach, man. Okay? So the ministry is perfecting us, man. Okay? The Lord raised up, you know, the prophets, you know, the apostles, the teachers. Okay? Everyone has their gift for the perfecting of the saints and continual edification until the return of Yahawashi. Okay? So this building is constantly being, you know, fine-tuned. You know, the Lord raised up, you know, laborers and workers in this thing to fine-tune his building, man. Okay? To build up the church, man, to build up the body. Okay? That's our only purpose for teaching is for the edification and the building up of the body, man. Okay? Constantly pushing understanding, growth, you know, maturity. That's what this thing is all centered around. Okay, and it's all built on the chief cornerstone, which is YAHAWASHI. Okay, verse 13 is the point. Till we all come into the unity of faith, the same belief. Okay, we should believe the same thing in the whole church, man. All right, the first fruits, the rest of the 1/3 men, women, and children, we shall all believe the same thing, the unity in faith, man. Okay, so there's no way that we'll be willing to suffer loss, you know, or death for something we didn't believe. Okay, it said till we all come into the unity of faith and of the knowledge of the Son of the Most High, unto a perfect man. Okay, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of a Mashiach. Let's read this in NLT. This will continue. This process will continue. Okay, the edification, the building up of the church through preaching, until we all come to such unity in our faith and knowledge of the Most High Son that we will be mature in the Lord, man. Okay, it's all about maturing in the spirit, man. We should be maturing in this thing, man. Okay, Apostle Paul said, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I thought as a child. Okay, but when I came a man, I put away childish things, and that's speaking in the spirit. Okay, so we constantly should be maturing in this thing, man. All right, um, it says that we will be mature in the Lord, measuring up to the full and complete standard of Yahawashi, that chief cornerstone, aligning ourselves every day with the chief cornerstone, which is Yahawashi. So going here, get that word measure. It says in the Greek metron.
Strong's G 3358. Metron. Metron.
Metron. All right. And when you jump down, it says a graduated staff for measuring, a measuring rod, proverbially the rule or standard of judgment. The rule or standard of judgment, man. So it's all in Yahawashi. Everything we do is rooted, all right, in the standard and the judgment of Yahawashi, which he comes in the volume of the book. Okay. So you jump down, said the required measure, the fit measurement. So Yahawashi is making it to where we fit, okay, into the building. Okay. These brothers being modified by the measuring stone, by the measuring instrument of Yahawashi. Okay, the chief cornerstone, we're being modified so we can align with the rest of the building. Okay, so that's the point. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified. Once again, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great example towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful next Shalom.